Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita dulcedo, estes nostra salve.
The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowds, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already late. Dismiss the crowds so that they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." And he said to them, "There is no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." But they said to him, 5 loaves and 2 fishes are all we have here." Then he said, "Bring them to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down on the grass. Taking the 5 loaves and 2 fishes and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, and gave them to the disciples, and in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up the fragments left over, 12 wicker baskets full. And those who ate were about 5,000 men, not counting women and children. The Gospel of the Lord.
There is a saying that shared pain or suffering is pain or suffering reduced, and shared joy is joy multiplied. And that is true. In today's readings, there's a reminder of that in our life, that we need to get involved in people's life, maybe from family basis or friendship or even as a community in the church, to get involved. When we get involved, we share the joy and we share the sorrow together. We share the labor and we share the gains. When we do things all by ourselves, either the pain becomes more or the joy becomes meaningless to us. In my ministration in the hospital, I usually see families sharing the pains of their loved ones, in their pains, in their sufferings, in their sickness, in their ill health as they undergo the treatments. I also see families sharing the loss of their loved ones. Amazing. How the pain could be reduced, how the grief could be managed better when family come together to do it. At the same time, I see families going home in joy when their loved ones are discharged from the hospital. But the person who was sick, and then the person taking him or her home, happy, you know what I mean? So that is how life should be. But sometimes we don't get it. In the first reading, we saw Moses not getting involved in people's pains and sufferings, but he was not doing it the right way, I would say. Because the complaints of the people were even influencing him in his decisions and his attitude and his whatever he has to do. And what remains for us is when we get involved in people's life or sufferings or pains, we need to get God involved too. Because we cannot do it all by ourselves. So today God is telling us, get me involved too. I want to participate in your sorrows. I want to participate in your joy. Come to me, tell me what is it. Allow me to participate. And that's why Jesus Christ in the gospel, we saw him doing just that. First, he challenged his disciples, give the people something to eat. Be involved in their hunger. Give them food. And with that charge, they have to look around, and they were able to find a boy, someone who has some loaves and some fish. And Jesus Christ got involved. And the few loaves and fishes were multiplied. And afterwards, after sharing in that food, the guy who has the food has more, even more than he contributed. When we put in our best, when we put in whatever we suffer in the community, in the family, in the society, when we contribute our own quota in the suffering or whatever, or the pain, what we gain is always much more than we contributed. And that is how life is. So my people, may we never shy away from responsibilities for God or for Christ, or even for our fellow human beings. May we not shy away from the pains and sufferings in other people's life, because when we contribute, when we try to help out, when we try to get involved, what we get out of it will be much more than we contributed. May God continue to be our strength as we see life from this perspective and do our best to contribute to people, to reduce people's suffering, knowing that we gain from there, and to contribute in people's life in the positive sense, knowing that we also gain from there. May God be our strength. God bless you all.
Regina Celi, let our